Hello everybody, welcome to Friday's English lesson. Today we're going to be carrying on with our we're going to be carrying on with our dad wavers. So yesterday we wrote our our first 4 sentences of our dad wavers. Today we are going to finish it off by writing our next 5 sentences. So kind of split it across the 2 days. So today we're going to be finishing it off. Now, I'm just going to share my screen and then in a moment we will get started. But what I'd like to do before we start is I'd like you to read what you wrote yesterday, because obviously that was quite a long time ago well, it wasn't a long time ago, it was a day. It might seem like a long time ago, but we need to bring that back fresh into our mind so we don't repeat what we have written yesterday, so that our writing flows. So before we begin, I just want you all to have a quick read through of what you wrote yesterday. And because you have the luxury of doing this at home, it might even help if you say it out loud so that you can hear it out loud as well. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little read of mine before I carry on with my writing while you do yours, and you can play when you're ready to carry on with your write. Fabulous. So what are we doing today? We're using dad wavers, how old learning is retrieved, and why, so we can write our own setting description. So like I just said, yesterday we did the D, A, D, and the W. So we did description, action, dialogue, and the where. Today we are going to do the adverb, the verb, estimation of time, rhetorical question, and the simile or the metaphor. We're not going to do the exclamation or the onomatopoeia. Okay, so in a moment we're going to go straight into it and we're going to get started. Wonderful. So I've all ready to do my writing. So I've got my write from yesterday, which was my first half of it, and I am ready on my A. So I'm now going to be looking at my adverb. This means I've got to start my sentence with a word that describes a doing word. So I've got some words here on my screen. Some of them are probably going to work for my scene. Some of them not so much, okay? Because I'm not really necessarily going to be describing what someone is doing. I want to be describing what part of the scene is doing. So I'm thinking, what can I describe? Well, actually, I've kind of thought about the forest, I've thought about the trees. I've got a few more things I could talk about. I could talk about kind of like the plants. I could talk about the animals. But there's one thing in my picture, there's a river that I think would be really nice to do some descriptive language all about. Okay, now, if you want to talk about a river or a stream in your scene, but there isn't one in your picture, okay, you can add one in there. That is the power that you hold as a writer now. Okay, so if you wanted to talk about a river too, but there wasn't one in your picture, that is absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to talk about my river that's in my scene now, and I'm starting with an adverb. So I'm thinking about how the river would be flowing. Okay, what word am I going to use to describe how? And I'm going to go with rapidly. Okay, it's quite a fast-moving river. Rapidly, comma, and that is a frontal adverbial because it's telling me how, so I need a comma after it. So rapidly, the stream. Now, this bit is getting a little bit fancy now, a bit technical. I'm actually going to use something called an appositive now. Now, I don't want you to worry if you've not heard that word before, because we've not done these yet. All an appositive is a phrase that adds extra information about the noun. So I did a little bit of research to make my waggle even more like geographically correct, and I researched one of the rivers that is in the Himalayas, and I found one of them which was called the Narmada River. So I'm going to say that my stream is an outlet, so kind of a bit of stream that's come off the main river of the Narmada, using capital letters because this is a proper noun. So I've got rapidly, the stream, an outlet of the Narmada River. So you can see this bit here, an outlet of the Narmada River, is just adding a little bit of extra information about my stream. Flowed is my verb. Nearby. Wonderful. So I could end my sentence there. Rapidly, the stream and outlet of the Narmada River flowed nearby, but I'm going to add a little bit of extra information. I'm thinking about what I can hear because I haven't really talked about that sense yet. Okay, so what can I hear when the river is flowing by? Well, I'm going to say that the sound was trickling into our ears. Okay, so the sound, you can still see what I'm doing on the visualizer. Trickling into our full stop. So I've got rapidly, the stream, an outlet of the Narmada River, flowed nearby, the sound trickling into our ears. Okay, so the really important part of this sentence is I've started it with an adverb, rapidly, and you've got some more adverbs on the screen here as well to help you, and even more if you want to have a search on Google or have a look on in the Descriptosaurus to describe how the river might be moving. Now, you might not want to describe the river, you might want to describe the hedge or the summit of the mountain, or maybe something that you can see on top of the mountain, okay, or maybe the view, okay, but you need to use an adverb to describe what the river is, sorry, an adverb which is going to describe your verb. So the river is rapidly flowing. Have a go at that for me now, please, and then play when you're ready to do our next sentence. Wonderful. Right, our next word then is a verb. Okay, so this is what we call a non-finite clause. Again, just like the appositive, you don't need to know that right now because we are going to do a rainbow grammar lesson, especially on this. Okay, but all you need to know is that you're going to use a verb to start your sentence. So I'm going to go for, I'm thinking now, so I've described the forest, I've described the weather, I've described the trees, I've also described the river. I'm thinking now about, maybe I could go into a bit more detail about the animals and the nature that's in the forest, okay? Because obviously the animals and the things that live there is a very important part of our setting. And what are the animals doing? Well, they are surrounding us. And surrounding is a verb. So I can start my sentence with surrounding us. This is also a fronted adverbial because it's telling us where. Okay, so surrounding us, and I don't just want to see a group of animals or a lot of animals, so I'm going to up-level my language choice and I'm going to go for was an array. And I know we've used this word before in some of our writing, of distinctive, meaning they are kind of special to the Himalayas. Himalayan, remember I need a capital letter for Himalayan, is a proper noun. Himalayan creatures. Now, I could end my sentence there, but I want to go into even more detail describing the types of creatures that I could see. So, thank you, Michael, for this one, because I've stolen your idea of the mouse hair, because I thought that was quite a cool animal to use. Okay, so from the inquisitive, I'm going to go for describing the mouse hair, and I'm thinking, well, it's kind of a bit of a cross between a rabbit and a mouse. So I'm going to describe it as inquisitive, so it's quite curious. I'm thinking it would also be quite skittish, jumping all over the place. Okay, so the inquisitive and skittish mouse hair. So I've got surrounding us was an array of distinctive Himalayan creatures, inquisitive and so I've made a mistake here actually. Okay, but that's okay because I'm able to learn from them. Okay, so what I'm actually trying to say is surrounding us was an array of distinctive Himalayan creatures from because I'm describing the range of creatures. I'm just going to add a little from the inquisitive and skittish mouse hair to the monal bird. So this was one of the birds that we looked at for our spirit animals. From the monal bird, and it has kind of like rainbow feathers. So I'm going to use a simile to describe that, with feathers as bright as, and I'm thinking, what are they as bright as? Well, I'm in the mountains, so can I link it to the mountains? So I'm thinking I might link it to the sunset that you might see in the mountains, the vivid alpine sunset. Okay, so I'm using figurative language, but I'm also linking it back to my actual setting as well. So that is my verb, and I've started up here with a verb. Can you have a go now then at starting a sentence with a verb to describe another part of your setting? Now, I haven't actually done this, but I've suggested here that you could use personification to bring your setting to life. So that means that you could use that you're using kind of like human features to describe what the things in your settings are doing. Okay, so for example, you could have a crawling through the undergrowth, the roots of the trees stretched out, okay, because the roots can't actually crawl, okay, but you are kind of giving them that human characteristic. So you could have a go at doing something like that as well. Have a go for me now at starting your sentence with a verb. Wonderful. Hopefully you've had a go at that. Now we're going to move on to our estimation of time. And estimation of time basically just means that we have to start our sentence with a fronted adverbial that tells us when. Okay, so we've done quite a few of these fronted adverbials. We've mostly looked at fronted adverbials that tell us where or how. Now we're going to do one that tells us when. So here's some examples. We've got afterwards, immediately, soon, after a while, before long, all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, eventually, later. And I'm thinking, well, what do I kind of want to happen now in my story? Could it be an animal crawling out of the hedge? Could it be that suddenly it gets colder, or suddenly the sun rises and gets brighter and shines a light on the setting? Or could it be that actually it's getting darker? I've kind of built up this sense of kind of nervousness here a little bit, because Jeevan's quite nervous here. Okay, so I think actually to add to that kind of feeling, I'm going to make it go dark now, because I have the power to do that because I am the writer. Okay, so I'm going to go before long, comma, because that's a fronted adverbial. The sun began to set. Yeah, began to set, and I mean, I could say the sun began to set and it got dark. However, I've seen something really lovely in my Descriptosaurus that I want to include, which I think is a bit of a better phrase choice. And the darkness engulfed, meaning kind of like surrounded, swallowed the trees. We'll stop. Okay, so before long, the sun began to set and the darkness engulfed the trees. I want you to have a go at writing a sentence for me that begins with an estimation of time. So that is basically just a fronted adverbial that tells us when. So if you're struggling, choose one of these from the screen, and then you can build your sentence from that. If you are struggling for ideas, I would recommend that you write about maybe either going dark, or it could be that it's getting light because the sun is rising. Okay? Or it could be something like it began to snow or it began to rain. Have a pause, have a go, and then come back. We've got 2 sentences left. Wonderful. Let's have a look at it together then. So, this is a nice, easy one. Rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question that doesn't require an answer. So it makes the reader kind of think. It makes the reader kind of stand in the shoes of the person who is telling the story. Okay, it's kind of allowing them to see it from their perspective. So I've been kind of trying to build this picture of actually, we're getting a bit nervous now. We don't really want to be in the woods. Jeevan's nervous. It's all a bit mysterious. The darkness is engulfing the trees. So I'm thinking now, Asher and Jeevan don't really want to be there. They're thinking, when is this journey going to end? Because actually now they're getting a little bit scared. So from Asher's perspective, my rhetorical question is going to be, will our journey ever end? Is there a word that I could use to describe my journey? I'm having a little think. Could go with dangerous, could go with treacherous, but I'm going to go for an even better word, I think. I'm going to go for perilous, which kind of means like never ending, relentless, dangerous. will our perilous journey ever end? Ending my rhetorical question with a question mark. Wonderful. Could you have a go at writing a rhetorical question from either it's going to be from Asha's perspective, from Asha. Okay, it might not be about the journey ending, it might be about the beauty of the setting. It might be, have you ever seen a mountain so beautiful, or have you ever seen a forest so dense? Okay, it could be more about your setting. Mine is more about the journey. Wonderful. Hopefully you've had a go at that. We have got one more sentence to have a go at before we finish our write. So well done for sticking with it till the end. Okay, I know that these all your work is going to be worth it. We've only got one more sentence to write. Okay, and it is a simile or a metaphor. I've used similes quite a lot already in my writing, so I'm thinking I'm going to use a metaphor. Okay, and I'm going to describe how Asha is feeling using the metaphor. Okay, so I'm going to go for our hearts raced. Okay, this is a metaphor because it's different from its literal meaning, because the hearts aren't really racing. It's just something that we say. It's kind of like an idiom. Okay, so our hearts raced. I could end it there. I want to add a bit more information though. I'm going to say at spending the night in the forest. Okay, so I've used a metaphor there. Our hearts raced. Okay, can you have a go at using a metaphor or a simile to finish your second description? We're writing for a moment then, and then you can play when you're ready. Fabulous. Right, well done everybody, you have done it. Whoop honk to you because you have made it to the end of our dad waivers. Okay, I'm hoping, and I can't wait to see all of our amazing writing that you have completed using our dad waivers. Okay, so here is my dad waiver. That is the writing that I have done, and hopefully you have done something that is similar but describes your own setting. I'm just going to pause so I can come back and see you all. So that is us done for the day. But before we go, that was a strange word, but before we go, like I said yesterday, if you want to go back and you definitely need to go back and read your work before it is finished. If you want to change any of the little bits, give it a little tweak now that you've done, then you can, okay? Just because we finished a dad waiver doesn't mean you can't go back and tweak your work to make it even better. That is going to be everything from us today. Well done for all of your writing this week. We can't wait to read it. And we will see you tomorrow. No, we won't. It's Friday. We will see you on Monday. Bye.